Hello everyone, hope you guys are doing well. Sorry to pop in out of nowhere. I don't know if you've seen what I've seen on social media, but I'm currently on just a little bit of a mini break, just taking a couple weeks to kind of breathe, relax, kind of creatively burnt myself out a little bit with some of the incredible episodes as of late. But in order to hold you guys over, I have a very special bonus episode for you guys. Now, if you support the podcast on Patreon, you would have already had early access to this episode. Thank you to Wiley Coyote and Jacob Ragland for already showing that love and support, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode previously. But I was supposed to make this bonus episode live a couple weeks after, the initial interview with our guest for today. I totally forgot. It was supposed to be to help the wonderful guests you're going to be listening to, Jestalee and Beelzebeebox of Chimera Bunny, to help promote their Sprout Darlings Kickstarter. And they already met that goal, and it's already being done, and things are being processed right now. But luckily, they have another Kickstarter that they are doing right now, which actually more aligns with what this bonus episode is all about. They are currently trying to raise funds right now in order to produce an animated trailer for their series, Polliwog, as well as producing some bat plushies from the series itself. At the time of recording, looking at the Kickstarter campaign, they've met that goal. They were raising $4,000. They currently have, at the time of recording, $4,300. But you should definitely help contribute today to help bring maybe an extended trailer, maybe actually get some of the actual animation of the episode produced and such. And besides, look at some of the rewards that you see on that Kickstarter. It looks absolutely adorable. Link to that Kickstarter will be in the description below. Now, why are we here though? Well, obviously, aside from the Kickstarter, for those who do not know, a while back I had, again, our wonderful guests, Jestalee and Beelzebeebox of Chimera Bunny. Our conversation was absolutely fantastic, and if you guys have not listened to that episode yet, I recommend you go back and listen to it. But after we got done, one of the two, I forget which one it is. It may have been Lee. I feel like it'd be Lee or Box. Either way, one of them has straight up just said, like, well, that was an incredible conversation, but man, we really wanted to talk so much more about Polliwog. So I looked at the time. I enjoyed, obviously, the conversation I had with them, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start recording again, and I'm just going to let you guys talk all about Polliwog. Talk about the incredible characters, the incredible world that they developed, the years of love and passion they put into this project. It's something that I know you guys are going to absolutely love, and I know that if you love the conversation, I hope you'll do me a favor and show that love to Box and Lee by going to the Kickstarter, and if not contributing, at least spreading the word about it. Get the word out there, let people know about it. And also check out the description below to check all the links where you can support Chimera Bunny and all their ventures. But now, without further ado, please enjoy this bonus episode of the Postmodern Art Podcast. Start recording here.
Mark, if you make another pun, this video is going to be the company dissolve announcement video.
Hey, if Box doesn't make the pun, I'll make a pun one way or another.
That would be an awesome video to be like, oh yeah, we're so excited about our business and series. By the way, we're dissolving the business. We hate each other.
So let's just jump right into it. There's obviously a lot of love and care that is going into Polliwog, so I want to know every little juicy detail that you guys are willing to share. Like, do not hold back when it comes to this stuff. Like, how did Polliwog even get started in the first place? I know we kind of talked about that in the episode or whatnot, but I want to know, especially the process to where it currently is. So go all in on it. Tell me about Polliwog.
All right, so we talked a little bit about what Polliwog is now, where it's kind of like a movie, sort of episodic, not episodic, but there's episodes and it's an animated series. But it wasn't always that way. Okay. So we said it started about 5 years ago, right?
Right.
So initially, I believe, it was going to be a comic, actually.
Okay.
And it kind of went back and forth between being a comic and being an animated series quite a few times. I would say the medium of which it was going to be changed about 7 times over the past 5 years. And we kind of got far on some of these projects. Like one of the comic iterations, there was a full chapter written out, drawn out, colored, ready to go, and everything. And at the end of that chapter, I was like, I can't do this. It's not good. We have to move on.
I mean, come on, like I'm sorry. I just gotta say, at least for me, if I was in that situation, I would just be like, let's just at least put it out there and see what people think, and just let them know, hey, we're gonna change it, but here's the progress that we have made or whatnot. But also, at the end of the day, like, it's not my project. It's obviously your guys' project. So,
well, you would be normal about it.
For me, I have zero shame in working on something for 10 years and finishing it and being like, I don't like this. Let's not do this.
You know what? I understand. Yeah, fair. That is fair.
But yeah, because I just know what Polliwog could be and how good it could be, and I don't want it to be anything less. I'm not settling for anything else.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a comic for a little bit, and then it was an animated series again. And I was just gonna do it like on my iPad, because I didn't have a computer yet to like animate this. So it was gonna be animated all by myself.
Okay.
And that didn't really pan out either. Move on a while. Okay, it's gonna be a comic again. We're thinking about the future of our collaborations together and what we're gonna do. I'm like, okay. And this is before like the studio stuff, so we couldn't like hire anybody on. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do this comic by myself because I don't know if I can make like a whole 12-minute episode to the quality I want it to be by myself. Because so yeah, I was just gonna make a comic.
Okay.
Again. This time, I don't believe I reached a full chapter yet, but I was almost a full chapter sketched, not lined or colored, but sketched. And then I don't think I showed Lee any of that.
Okay.
No, it was a secret. I can be pretty secretive about artwork sometimes.
No.
No. So yeah, it was sketched out, and then I started texting Lee. I was like, Lee, I have a confession to make. We're not doing the comic anymore. It has to be animated. Because I love animations too much, and I'm going to be too sad if it's just a comic. It has to be this way. I know it has to be. And then it was going to be an animated series again.
Yeah.
And then flash forward. Oh, sorry, did you want to?
Yeah, so backpedal a little bit about Box being secretive. So during this time, this was like high school, I think.
Yeah,
right?
It was high school.
Yeah. I was busy. I was in high school, doing high school things.
Okay.
But I was also working on the project that was supposed to come after this project that Box was working on. So that was my main focus. Mm-hmm. So I was not really involved with Polliwog's writing until the second or third time it became an animated series. Because I was very hands-off about it. I was like, this is your thing. I'm going to let you do your thing. Mm-hmm. It's going to, go, run amok. See how hard writing is. You'll come back. And she did.
So yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about this before a little bit earlier, but I like to just do things. Yep. Because there's been just too many times where a project has fallen through because of blah, 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 life happens. And I wanted to have something that was finished really badly.
Also, because we were 12, but...
yeah, that too. But, yeah, I mean, I guess the good thing is I practiced making the episode a lot. So this is the 7th try. So hopefully I learned my lesson those 7 other times of what makes a good episode and what makes a bad episode.
7 times the charm.
Exactly.
I have to know, Lee, take me to your mind with it when it comes to this whole entire process or whatnot. Obviously, hearing this become a roller coaster, tipping back and forth between series and comic or series and comic or whatnot. What was your mindset at? Were you at the very minimum all right, come on, Box, let's figure something out?
during the entire time, I was like, she's not gonna like it. She's gonna scrap it. I know she's gonna scrap it because she's rushing it. She wants to do things super fast, but she also wants them to look good. So for the entire time she was doing the comic, I was like, hey, you're not gonna like this by the time you're done with it. And she was like, I'm just gonna do it. It doesn't matter. And then she finished the chapter and she was like, I hate it. I need to scrap it. So I was just waiting. Sometimes you've got to let people do their own thing for a bit. I was busy. It's fine.
That was a lesson I needed to learn in patience. Like, I'm glad that happened, because if that didn't, I would probably still be trying to do that right now. So it had to happen.
It was kind of that thing that we talked about earlier, whatnot, having that more or less the yin and the yang of your guys' like mentality when it comes to like work getting done or whatnot. You know, you had to eventually learn to pace things down or whatnot, like Lee would establish or whatnot. Just get the stuff out there. Like it said, you're just like, Lee's like, let's make a plan. Let's go forth. Let's create something that we're going to love long term.
Yeah, and my learning curve has been being okay with the episode released in smaller chunks. Because, I don't want to do that. But we do need to put something out there eventually, because algorithms.
Right. If nothing else, like you guys are saying, at least at this point, you guys are slowly growing, you're getting your name out there or whatnot, like, giving at least a taste, that smaller chunks or whatnot, giving something for people to latch on to, easily consume, and then go back after the fact and release the entirety of the thing or whatnot, probably will help out in the long term more than anything else.
Yeah, that's true.
So, again, sorry to cut you off. I don't know if I did or not.
You're good, go ahead.
Going back to when she scrapped the comic, I think the second time, and wanted to do an animated series, and got 12 minutes into that, storyboarded, fully voice acted, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we paid for voice acting for 12 minutes, and 3 of those minutes were fully animated. She did that by herself.
Okay, so let me talk about this.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was just last year, by the way.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
So Chimera Bunny had been registered as a real business, and we were like, okay, let's make our first project. What's it gonna be? Okay, obviously Polliwog. We've been trying for 5 years. Let's do it again. So, this is, once again, I wanted to do something fast.
The lesson wasn't learned.
I gave myself about 100 days to make a 12-minute episode.
Goodness, why would you torture yourself like that?
So the script writing process was just a few days.
Okay.
And I did invite Lee to work on it, but I don't believe she had the time to. And for me, I was like, I can't wait for you. I have to move on. There's 100 days left. So
I do, because we were talking about this yesterday. I went back and I was thinking and I was remembering. I saw that you were again trying to rush through it. So I was like, I'm going to let you write the script.
I'm going to let you learn from your mistake this time.
So I was like, it's your project. You can write the script. You were also being a bit secretive about it. So I was like, go ahead, do it. So she wrote the script by herself. Which means that
with no dialogue, by the way.
Okay.
I didn't write the dialogue yet because I'm not super good at that. So I just kind of had like a general story outline, and that was the script for me. And I was like, okay, let's go.
And then
no, not yet.
Okay.
So I gave myself about a week to storyboard an entire 12-minute episode, right?
Jeez.
So I took my little script, I storyboarded it out. I was like, okay, this is fine. Some scenes look better, some scenes don't look as good, whatever. Okay, we're moving on. But there was still no dialogue. It had been fully storyboarded. There was no dialogue. And here's where the main issue came in with the script.
Okay.
As if there weren't already like 12 other issues with it. But here's the big one. I really would not recommend doing dialogue after the storyboard. Because here's what happens.
Okay.
You find out, especially with Polliwog, there's a lot of like lore and like character stuff. So we were trying to put so much into the dialogue that a single storyboard would be like the shot wouldn't change for like 5 minutes of dialogue, and we were like, oh my gosh, this does not work.
No goodness.
I was also, at this point, we were doing direct storytelling because Box wanted to do direct storytelling and didn't want to just show things because there was literally no place to just like show things and have people figure it out.
Okay.
Because most of the story had been written after she started storyboarding and was like, I need help writing. So you can't like go back and work in elements for people to figure out because the scene is already done. So you have to tell them.
Also, the way I storyboarded it was very specific. I didn't get like too ambitious with like shot choices because I knew from the beginning, like, I'm not going to get any help on this. Like, I'm going to be the sole animator. How do I make this work? So, yeah, some pretty under-ambitious shots. And then we just had the dialogue stacking on time. Like, I say it's a 12-minute episode, but I think originally it was going to be more like 8. And the dialogue just stacked the time up. And we're like, okay, this isn't looking so good. And unfortunately, we didn't realize the dialogue problem was as bad as it was until after we had already gotten all the voice lines recorded and put in and edited together. Like, we knew it was kind of bad because when we were writing the dialogue, we had to edit it down quite substantially. Like, it was worse. We brought it down.
Okay.
We got our voice actors to do it, and I edited that all together like as fast as I could, and it was time to animate. There was no time to waste. There's like 90 days left or something, whatever there was. And I just started working on it like every single day. I don't think I had the time to make like proper character model sheets or anything. Not. So yeah, I was just like going at it. And for the next few months, I had animated about 3, almost 4 minutes, completely animated with backgrounds and composited, edited, all of that. The only thing that was missing was like sound effects and like music and all that. So here I am sitting in like November with my 3 fully minutes animated out of like 12. And me and Lee are talking about it. I don't know which one came to the other one first. Yeah, so we were talking to each other and we were like, this isn't working. It's not turning out good. And I mean, that's something at the beginning of the 100 days we were more okay with, but over the course of that time I was working on it, we were like really reconsidering what we wanted to do and what we wanted to be. Like what we're doing with the studio, right? So there was just a lot we had to reevaluate in that time. And we were like, okay, we're scrapping the entire 12-minute episode. Let's start from square one. And this time around, we were willing to invest money. And we were like, okay, we need help. This isn't gonna work if I just do it. It's just the scale was so much bigger than we had originally realized.
Right. Whenever you're trying to, crunch something out within 100 days when it's only one person doing it, I would imagine you need a little help.
Yeah, so we decided we needed some help. And we were like, okay, let's reevaluate the whole thing. Let's rewrite a lot of the story. And this is where Lee came in and was writing a lot of the big lore changes, and changing the whole episode. This is also part of the reason we scrapped the original episode, is because it no longer fit in with like the grand scheme of the story. Yeah, so it was just kind of like, oh, even if we did think this content was good, it doesn't fit what we're doing now. So we had to scrap it anyways. So yeah, it's December now. We're redoing all the visual development, all the like development in general. We're redesigning all the characters, which had generally remained unchanged for like the past 5 years.
Right.
So we were like, okay, it's time for them to get a new look. And that was a whole fiasco.
Oh no.
There was a lot of back and forth on the designs. If Lee wants to talk about that a little.
So the main character, Frog, I do have some assets you can look at and edit in if you want to.
Okay.
But the main character, Frog, at this point, in the process, we had already hired on a lot of voice actors.
Right.
Which was awesome because we had just redone the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So we hired them on when we thought we would have work for them. And then we were like, hey guys, sorry, we're going to rework the episode and make it better. They were, of course, understanding. And they were like, yeah, I want to be a part of a better project. I'm so happy for you guys. But we still do feel kind of bad. So,
I mean, I imagine that initially comes in whenever, you know, you bring in such good quality talent or whatnot, promising them one thing, and then turn around and be like, hey, we're actually making it something else. At the very least, like, you know, at least the actors, from what you guys are telling me, very understanding more at the end of the day.
Yeah. And we had already paid most of them to voice act the entire episode prior, so they already had work.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So we had an issue.
Aside from trying to make an animation in 100 days, what was the issue this time?
Well, that was Box's problem she brought upon herself.
True.
I had no part in that. I didn't even find out she was doing it until after she started doing it.
But anyway, so what was the problem you came across then?
So we had a bit of an issue with Frog's design.
Okay.
Where her original design, she has the hair that she has now. Mm-hmm. But during the design process, Box, she's like super into the shape language, right? Mm-hmm. And so sometimes, like, the way she looks at art is way different than everyone else looks at art.
Right.
Like, look at the character sheet. Apparently, Frog's hair is green.
Well, her name is Frog, so.
Yeah. The story behind that is it was supposed to be green, but I like to color shift my drawings so much that Lee this entire time thought she was blonde.
Mm.
She's canon blonde now, but she was supposed to have green hair since the start.
The way Box looks at art is way different. Like, I think it's because she knows what colors she color shifted from, but like, if you look at that drawing, you'll see blonde hair. She sees green hair because she takes like all of the combined tones, if that makes sense.
I get where you're getting at, yeah.
So she's also that way about shapes. So at one point in the process, we had an issue where Box wanted to make her hair long because the shape language was more cohesive. Mm-hmm. And this was like a 3-day long, like, back and forth where I was like, it just doesn't look right. So we had to like open it up to like a server discussion.
Oh wow.
Where everyone spent like 3 days trying to convince Box that the short hair looked better.
I had agreed that the short hair was better for like it's more unique looking, like the style that it is. But for a while, just because when I design a new character, I have to draw them 100 times to see if the design works from like every angle and every composition.
You know what? Understandable.
So yeah, for a while, just the way I had been drawing her, I think was a lot more lanky than I had previously. So I thought the long hair was working better. But eventually through the design process, we kind of didn't go with as lanky as I was drawing her, and we discovered, okay, the short hair actually does really work. I was just going insane because the silhouettes looked better. So
At one point, I really, really liked one of Frog's long hair designs, but it was too cool for her. I wonder if I can find it.
yeah, that's one thing too. We wanted to keep Frog as kind of a goofy character. Like, she's an adult, but she's supposed to kind of be a bit childish for her age.
Right.
So we're trying to keep like that goofy energy that she has.
I mean, to be fair, like, you know, like you were telling me beforehand, she's basically a demon hunter. That doesn't sound like a serious job, so I imagine that kind of childlike wonder is, like, still there in the back of your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she's, I'll go ahead. She's set on being a demon hunter, right? But the people of her village don't even believe in demons anymore.
Interesting.
So she's a bit crazy. Because the ancient hero had already wiped out all of the demons for like a while, supposedly. So
supposedly,
it's like a little kid believing in Santa Claus, basically, at her grown age of like 22.
And she has an adopted son who also does not believe in demons, and is like, "Okay, mom."
Yeah, you destroy that chupacabra or whatnot. Yeah, you go for it. You got it.
So she's very goofy, and a lot of the festivals and like traditions and stuff that the town that she lives in holds, they don't really remember the purpose of anymore.
Okay.
So all of the views that the people of the town have are kind of misconstrued. And a lot of them don't even believe in demons. So she's like already a whack job, but also she's obsessed with this lore, right? That at this point is just like fairy tales to them, even though it's only been 100 years since everything happened.
Okay. So I want to derail the current conversation when it comes to this giant 100-day sketch, 100-day stretch of trying to make a short out of thin air, which I appreciate nevertheless. Like, I admire your dedication. That is the first thing I want to say when it comes to that. But you're talking a lot about, demons and demon hunters or whatnot. I don't know how much you can divulge when it comes to the actual lore of Polliwog or whatnot, but I want to know, like, what exactly is the importance of, like, the demons in this universe? Like, how is it, like, you said that, obviously Frog wants to be a demon hunter, but like they believe that demons aren't even around anymore. Like, what exactly is like the lore behind the demons of Polliwog that you can indulge on?
So, as it's told, demons used to terrorize the village, and the ancient hero came in and he wiped them all out with the spirit protector of the village, Gubbit, who disappeared after some time. Oof.
So, because I bet you don't want to spoil too much. So I imagine just that bare minimum alone is one. I was like, it was a time to where demons were commonplace, and there was both, like you were talking about, like, rituals, I'm not gonna say schedules, but like festivals, stuff like that, to help ensure that, like, safety from those demons or whatnot before this ancient one came in and basically wiped all the demons out, allegedly. So basically Frog coming in trying to be this, new demon hunter, it'd be like the modern day version of someone trying to be like a blacksmith or something like that. Like, it's cool that you want to do that, but like, we have so many other things to where that's not even a concern. There's no reason for you to be that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, I guess the real world like example for what Frog would be like is just a huge dork, like a nerd obsessed with like comic books or something. Like,
he's definitely like the real world equivalent of like a medieval boo,
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Understandable.
She would absolutely be going to Ren fairs if...
I mean, to be fair, I assume in your guys' world, she's basically living in the time that Ren fairs will be based on, more or less, in this alternate universe. Okay, fair enough. So let's get back to our main story here of the rush to get something out. No, but like so I imagine, you know, like we were talking about, Lee eventually came in, tried to, you know, get something more cohesive going or whatnot. So at what point did you guys just kind of more or less realize that like what we're trying to do with this right here is not the way to go, and just completely redo it?
Oh,
I would
remember.
say. Oh, go ahead.
So, I remember the conversation. I texted you and I was like, "Hey, we need to call and like talk about Polliwog." And I was like, "Hey," because you had just edited together like the storyboards and stuff, right?
No,
So-
I had already animated 3 minutes, so the
Right.
storyboards were long edited
Okay,
a while
okay.
ago.
At some point in that process, I was watching it and I was like, "This is boring."
Mm-hmm.
So I called and I was like, "Hey, don't be mad. It's boring and it's clunky, and I think we should reconsider." Like we've already restarted it 5 times. What's the sixth or seventh?
I don't even know if you straight up said, "Hey, we should restart this." I think you were just like, "Hey, it's not looking so good," and I was like, "I'm not mad. I agree. Let's restart this." And you were like, "Oh, are you
That is
sure?"
what
I was like,
happened,
"We're
yeah.
restarting it."
I was like, "Yeah, I just don't think this is like the best that we could do." And you were like, "Okay, let's restart."
I imagine, leaning the back of your head, you were probably just thinking, "Oh, thank God."
Yeah,
Okay.
I was always a restart advocator.
Fair
I
enough.
mean, yeah, just restarting so many times over the course of 5 years. It's also been, I mean, partly because I've been growing as an artist over the past 5 years, and my art style has changed so much over that time. So each
enough.
iteration of Polliwog has kind of been like a different art style I've gone through, and eventually came to the one I have today. So that's part of the reason
That's valid.
that happened.
That is honestly very valid, because I mean, especially when you're dedicating yourself so long to just art, you definitely pick up some stuff along the way to where your style like moves and changes and morphs into something that's, you know, while based in something incredible in the first place, like, you know, develops into something else that could completely change the storytelling aspects on so many different scenarios. So yeah, I could understand why you've restarted so many times, at least when it comes to like the art style kind of thing. But like, what would you say is more or less like a driving force for you to keep wanting to restart, but also like to keep going forward and tell this story?
So we had always restarted. Like we have a couple projects that we put out that was done super, super quickly. Like we did, I think, like 2 48-hour short films where we wrote it and we box animated it in the span of 48 hours and we put them out. And I think since we have been friends for 9 years, and that entire time we've been like cycling through stories, writing the same way we've always written. Like we've written them out, we scrapped it, we restarted, we've written it out, we've scrapped it, we restarted. We got like 3 seasons into writing, we scrapped it, we restarted. I think that's one of the main things that is our strengths, because in indie animation especially, you are really just like, fuck it, we ball, you know?
Yep.
And you have to change as you learn and as you go, because you can't just like have a plan for indie animation and everything goes smoothly.
Right. If that was the case, there would be a lot more indie projects out there. It'd be a lot easier for people to get their ideas translated to animation like that.
Yeah. So I quite like that we restart a bunch of times. And I hope that this time is the final time. I'm happy with it.
Me
So,
too. I feel like
yeah.
it's finally gotten to a really good place. I really do think it'll be good. I'm confident in saying that right now.
Well, I mean, that leads to something I don't know if if I hadn't asked this initially, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you here. Like, obviously, like Lee, you already said this or whatnot. Like, there have been times where you've taken projects and just take them off to the wayside and just let them enjoy themselves in a field and on the great farm in the north or whatnot. But like,
And then shoot them in the back of the head. Yeah.
I wasn't going to go there. I wasn't going to say Old Yeller, but okay. But so you had all these obviously stories that you've more or less just taken to the graveyard. I'll just put it like that. But like, what is it about Polliwog in particular to where, like, again, you guys have restarted at least like 7 different times or whatnot? What is it about this story in particular that you guys want to hold on to and actually do something with this one? Like, what is the extra special thing about this story in this world, in this universe, that makes you guys want to tell it more than anything else?
Go ahead.
For me, I just really love the fantasy genre as a whole. And I feel like everything that I usually make, even if it's not Polliwog, kind of falls in line with that genre. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just been a huge project since the start. Even with restarting it so many times, each new version, we've kind of added a piece that I don't know. I just like what it's becoming.
That's fair.
For me, why I want to go ahead and tell this story instead of the other stories that are in the same universe that happened before and after this one takes place is I just really like the vibe this one has. And I don't know. I feel like this is a really good starting point to be able to tell other stories in the future. Hint, nudge, nudge. It's nice. It has a meaty plot. There's a lot of things behind it, and it's interesting, and it's not too confusing like future things would be without any build-up.
Right.
So.
I mean, even then, like, again, just from what you guys have been able to tell me about when it comes to, Polliwog or whatnot, especially, again, how much you guys have taken care of it while also, like, having to basically, like, redo it, like, so many times over, like, that it's more or less, like, it goes back to what I've said before, like, it shows more or less the love and dedication and passion you have for this story and for this universe and for this vibe that you want to present out there more than anything else. Like, I can only imagine dedicating yourself that long to something and trying over and over again to tell it the proper way. Like, I know I can only imagine how much of a challenge it is. Again, I've had this podcast for only like 2.5 years. I've done other projects before when it comes to like college and stuff because I went to school for filmmaking and such. And like with those, it's one of those like I have to do it in a matter of months because that's what my classes required me to do or whatnot. But like there's like at least 1 or 2 of the ones that I did that I wouldn't mind like going back and picking up and doing something like that. Being able to tell that story further or whatnot. But like again, like for me, I haven't actively thought about those ideas. For you guys, this is your lives. This is what you guys want to push out there. This is your creative force more than anything else.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, go ahead.
Okay. For me, I'm always thinking about writing, like always. When I take breaks, I work like 11 to 15 hours a day. On my break days, I don't get weekends. On my break days, I work 6 hours a day, which I'm so thankful for, right? But while I'm like playing video games or I'm doing other things, I'm still writing in my head. And that's like been a constant throughout my life. I'm like always coming up with stories, always like making little intricacies, always like, thematic elements, putting those in. So if I weren't doing this, I would probably like just go insane. So
it's valid, honestly. Again, I work a job to where I can work up to like 10 or 11 hours a day, 5 days a week or whatnot. So yeah, I can get where you're coming from, but I could go insane if I don't do this.
Yeah, so a lot of work has been put into Chimera Bunny.
A lot of work has been going to Polliwog as well, just in general.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
go on.
it's for me, writing is more like a necessity that I have to do. Like I have to make these stories. So it's good that they are being fully realized because maybe I can stop thinking about those ones and move on to other ones.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to state it. Polliwog is like a plague on both our minds, and we have to do this.
I mean, to be fair, compared to some plagues in history, I think this is a plague I wouldn't mind catching, you know? Oh no, I
Yeah.
had the plague of attempting to make something creative a reality. Oh Lord, help us!
No.
It's the worst one.
Goodness. I mean, I can only imagine, especially with how many different iterations. I mean, I already got a taste of it with some of the visuals I'll be putting in the video version of this podcast or whatnot. But even then, the many different iterations and different interpretations of it or whatnot, like, goodness, like, if nothing else, is a good way to like creatively exert yourself one way or another, like trying all these different styles or whatnot. Was there like, obviously the style you're currently sticking with to tell this story or whatnot is probably your favorite right now, but is there any like previous iteration that you would have loved to have seen to fruition, like go past you being like, maybe I should stop from there?
Um, I do miss a couple of the art styles. We had to simplify it down because obviously.
Right.
But Box went through a phase where she was very like, I think it was 70s anime. I don't know, I don't watch anime, but it was very cute. I loved it lots, but we moved on from this art style and I wish we had kept it, but it's okay.
Yeah, we'll send the asset for that in a bit, but yeah, it was very anime. It had more detail. Like if you'll notice the current version of her, I don't really draw her pupils really.
Okay.
Or like just a lot of little details are more implied instead of actually there. But for a moment there was this more anime style that was a lot more complex, and we decided not to go through with it because I mean, just the budget for that would be insane. It's already going to be insane. So we toned it down a little bit. We were trying to be realistic, even though
Sorry.
we're usually pretty overambitious. We're trying to control ourselves a little.
Fair, understandable. I was gonna say, Box, is there any other previous iteration that you wish you could have like maybe tampered with a little bit more before the current one, or are you more or less just happy with where you're going right now?
I am pretty happy with what we've got going right now. I do enjoy kind of more cartoony art styles. I did really like the anime one that Lee likes too. Like that one, it's just visually appealing, I think. But the current one, I do really, really like it.
Fair enough. Though I will say it, just basing it on some of the ones you guys tell, the ones that Lee had shared with me or whatnot. The one that looks like almost like a Hobbit animated, like the Hobbit animated movie, if you remember that or whatnot. The one that I think was gonna be in comic form that looks like that similar style or whatnot. That's one I would have loved to have seen like more get to fruition or whatnot. Is that the one that you were telling me that you had like the full chapter like written out for that comic or whatnot?
Actually, I think that was a little bit after. That was like the next iteration after the comic. So
Okay.
so yeah, those like that design and those details were kind of things I was learning how to draw while making the comic, and then I was like, oh god, the comic doesn't look as good as this. So that's part of the reason that one was canceled that time through.
Jesus. I'm just gonna say when you guys do the Kickstarter going for Polliwog or whatnot, I'm just gonna say this right here. If you still have that initial like first chapter comic or whatnot, make that as one of the like the Kickstarter goals or whatnot. Like, you know, like a $50 goal or whatnot, you get like a printed like paperback zine of it or something like that, just to see like where it came from or whatnot. Like I think it'd be interesting.
Maybe. We'll at least put a few like pages or just like little snapshots of what it was in the art book, which will cover like every phase of what Polliwog was and what it is now. So yeah, that's definitely something you can look forward to for the Kickstarter.
The art book is so big.
I was literally just about to ask, rough estimation here. How many pages do you think this art book would be?
Oh man. If we include everything, it's gonna be too big. We're gonna cut down a bit. We're gonna have to be selective on what we include.
Are we talking phone book big? Like that many pages?
If
Oof.
I get to say everything that I want to say and make it make sense, yes.
Okay.
If I include every sketch I've ever done, yes. There's at least 300 unfinished sketches just in like my iPad gallery right now.
It just reminds me of the meme, like if you guys remember, like the ones that are like the 2 books or whatnot. One of them that's just like a standard size book, and the other one that's literally like this big or whatnot. So it's like what the art book is probably gonna be, what the art book would look like if we included everything.
Yeah.
That is so accurate. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like I feel like, especially when talking about Polliwog, like obviously there's only so much you guys can share or whatnot, but even with the surface that we've been scratching when it comes to this or whatnot, I cannot tell you how invested I want to be with this world, how much more I want to learn about it. I want to sink my teeth as far in with this as I can. Like, it sounds incredible. I love everything that you guys have been able to tell me about it.
Another thing we want to do with it is I'm very big on social issues.
Okay.
So a lot through the years, I've been like, okay, propaganda time. We're gonna. I want to start. I don't want direct parallels, but I do want to start putting in stuff that will give people the tools to start recognizing social issues within their own society.
Okay.
So, look forward to that. Propaganda time, guys.
Oh boy, I love my propaganda.
It's hard to say without spoilers, but you can probably.
Right.
Plus, Polliwog propaganda has a great ring to it.
Polliwog propaganda. That's what you guys are calling the ad campaign, right? It's the Polliwog propaganda.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We now return to our Polliwog propaganda.
That's what our YouTube channel is gonna be.
There you go. Screw Chimera Bunny. That's the new name of the studio. Polliwog propaganda.
Propaganda Inc.
Propaganda Inc. No, I'm sure that would give the wholly wrong context for anyone that just looks at that like that. Oh goodness. Is there anything else you guys would like to indulge when it comes to Polliwog?
Box, do you have anything?
I can't think of anything specific, but I will say, working with some artists that we just personally were fans of and having them on the project has been really cool.
Okay.
And we love everyone we're working with, our voice actors especially. Mm-hmm. We gave them praise last time. We'll do it again. I love them so much. They're so perfect.
Fox, do you want to give any advice to anyone looking to get into indie animation? I'm taking over your podcast.
hey, you know what? Here, I'll tell you what. I'll give myself 5 minutes. No, I'm joking.
Advice for people wanting to do their own thing. I would just say understand what you're getting into. I mean, obviously what we've been talking about here in the last however long it's been, it's a very windy road. A lot of things are going to happen that you didn't expect to pop up. And you have to just be prepared for those things and be okay with changing and maybe even reevaluating everything you're doing, which we've done several times. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it goes. And we're still learning to this day. Like, obviously, we haven't really taken off as a studio yet. The episode's not out yet. We're still learning.
I do have something to say.
Go for it.
If you are going to get into indie animation, I would ask you to evaluate if this is the proper medium to tell your story through. Mm-hmm. Because animation is very time consuming.
Hmm.
And some projects would be better told through a game. Some projects would be better told through a comic. You have to be really sure that animation is the right medium for you, and don't just pick it because that's the first thing that comes to your mind when it comes to storytelling. There's tons of other storytelling mediums, and you don't want to get someone, or not just someone, you don't want to get like an entire team involved with telling your passion project if it's not the right thing for your passion project.
I imagine that's something that you probably want to emphasize when it comes to Chimera Bunny. The fact that you guys aren't just an animation studio. You guys are looking to dip into so many different aspects when it comes to just art in general. Like making sure you tell whatever the proper story is in the proper medium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's definitely something we feel pretty strongly about. Like even just going back and forth on why should Polliwog be a comic? Why should it be an animated series?
Mm-hmm.
That's something we've thought a lot about over the years. And just make sure if you're going to make something that you kind of have that conversation with yourself or whoever you're working with as well.
Trust me, I was gonna
Yeah.
say, like, I definitely get that. Like, obviously, with my own creative, endeavors or whatnot, like, while I've only been able to do live action personally or whatnot, like, obviously, I can see a reason for certain things being a certain aspect. Like, for example, the animated project that I'm helping out with, the Evil Little Thing with Tipsy. Honestly, with the story that she really wants to tell, the best way that it is to tell the story would be animation, especially for some of the visual aspects, some of the storytelling beats or whatnot, some of the atmosphere that she wants to create. Like, animation is probably the way to go. Like,
Mm-hmm.
in a different vein, I'll reveal it here on the podcast. I have a little private project that I'm currently working on or whatnot
Ooh.
that I think would be best explained through podcast form, through audio medium or whatnot. Like, I could think of it, animated would be kind of cool to see. Live action would probably be the second best thing to go with what I'm planning on doing or whatnot. But, like, the audio
Mm-hmm.
medium leads so much to the imagination that the way I want to go forth doing this little private project or whatnot, I think the podcast form would be the way to go. And that should be the same with any sort of creative project. You gotta understand that, like, the medium you want to put it to or whatnot, understand why it would be the best medium to tell that story.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. And I feel like this is another, like, you know how sometimes books are very poorly adapted into movies?
Yes,
Sometimes maybe the book was just the best version you could tell that story with.
exactly.
Like, each medium has its advantages and disadvantages. So, yeah, it's just something to think about when you're making something.
Also,
Exactly. Go on.
another piece of advice. By the way, if you do story, make sure to send it to me. DMs are always open. Um, Another piece of advice we would give people, because we have had people message us asking about this specifically. If you're not prepared to run a business, don't register as a business for fun.
Yeah, no, I imagine it's a whole process that isn't just, hey, we have a business now.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of money you have to put into it too to even
Hmm.
become a business in the first place. Like it
And a
costs money
lot
to
of research.
register. Yeah.
That's why I've been a little bit
'Cause-
hesitant to make a production company based around podcasts or whatnot just yet, because I have an idea in mind that's like that, but I need to do more research before I just say, all right, let's make a production company called such and such.
Like you have to have a plan for income coming in because you're gonna start paying taxes, and you better know how to pay those taxes. Become very acquainted with the IRS website, guys.
Mm.
You also need to have your contracts in place if you are dealing with any money. Also,
Absolutely.
also, most importantly, if you are using indie to pitch your project to a studio, you need your artists to sign release forms for their art so they do not own it anymore. And it belongs to you, the person who originally owns the IP. Because if that project gets picked up by a studio, those artists who worked on your project can sue the studio. So a studio will not pick up your indie project, even if you have a fully animated pilot, because it's a legal risk. So you need to have all of your ducks in a row. Otherwise, you won't get picked up. You need to like think legally, guys.
Yes.
Indie animation, or just creative processes in general, is not just create something, put it out there. There is a process. And especially if you're trying to sell your IP or whatnot, if you're trying to sell a product or whatnot, keep in mind you're dealing with people that have more than likely dealt with this stuff for years and have dealt with all the different lawyers and such to make sure that they can get the most money possible. So yeah.
Because let's say we pitched Polliwog to a producing company right now.
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple artists on character design. If we didn't have them sign the artist release forms and we included any of their characters that they did, or for the writers, any story beats that they put into the story, and they can prove that they put that into the story, they could sue the production company.
So yeah, just make sure your contracts are in order if you bring in anybody else to work with you, and especially if money is involved, which please pay your artists. Once again, we'll say this again.
Yep. Pay your artists. Pay your artists.
Especially like if you're planning on doing this long term, you need to pay your artists. It's oh my God. Sorry, I'm getting overwhelmed thinking about all of the legal stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I think the best way we can tie this whole entire point into a giant bow is make sure you do your research before you go all in on this stuff. It's literally not just make something, put it out there. There's a whole process that has to go behind it.
Yeah. I mean, artists they're well intentioned when they do this type of stuff, but unfortunately, artists tend to not be the best businessmen. Mm-hmm. That's a huge thing.
We are not like Jay-Z. We are not a businessman. We are a businessman, but we also need to be businessmen.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we don't really fit very cleanly into the indie animation label because we're trying to become basically an alternative to the current producing companies. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So indie animation doesn't really fit us. But,
yeah, we want to be the new industry. That's our ultimate goal.
It's like, well, there you go. It's a good goal to achieve for more than anything else. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we sign off on this one?
Let's see. Let me go over my notes. Oh, another thing we wanted to talk about. Mm-hmm. One of the main reasons why you go indie is because your project wouldn't do well in a studio setting or in a mass-produced setting. And you're very passionate about your project. So I would not recommend doing indie to pitch your project to a studio. Because there's already avenues to pitch your project to a studio. Going above and beyond to make a fully animated pilot, I do not think is going to help your chances because there are already set avenues for pitching. Mm-hmm. You are also going to be competing against, because the industry is changing. We looked into pitching a lot. We decided it wasn't for us. But they're bringing in like celebrities and people from the film industry. So that's your competition, and their name has a lot more power than yours.
Yep.
So going above and beyond to make a pitch seems like the right idea, but unless you're like Beelzebeebox, it probably is not going to work out for you. Mm-hmm. So if you do want to get your show made and you get a team together and you make a fully animated episode, why not just make that process sustainable and produce your own show? Because you're going to pitch your show to a company. You're going to sell your IP. You can't bring your artists on because American industry animation is now just pre-production. They don't do the animation in-house anymore. They outsource it, and they treat those animators horribly. So you're not going to be able to bring your animators with you. You probably aren't going to be able to bring your voice actors with you. Everything is going to be changed. Any representation that you want to put in, you're probably not going to be able to put in. You're going to sell your IP, and then what's most likely going to happen is your show's going to get completely gutted. They give you a certain amount of episodes to make your story work. Mm-hmm. So if you have to add more to fill in time, you have to do that. If you have to cut it short to try to make it work and you have to cut a bunch of content, you have to do that. You can't just do your own style. You have to conform to what they want you to conform and what's easy to mass produce. And by the end of all that, they're probably going to cancel your show because you included a gay kiss scene. And you're going to wake up to find out that you're fired from Twitter and your show got canceled. And all of the people who you were working with and employed are now jobless.
Yeah, it's just a really brutal world.
I feel like this is a wholly unique experience, and this has never happened before. Why would you even conceive such a dreamlike experience? Anyways, let's all sit down and watch something like, I don't know, The Owl House, or, anyways.
I will never get over Inside Job being canceled. I'll never get over it.
The fact, especially, because, they only had, 2 seasons or anything like that? Ugh.
I have such strong opinions on Inside Job being canceled. I could talk about it for hours, so I'm going to stop myself.
Part 3, Inside Job episode.
I'm telling you, if you guys just want to just as part of a subsidiary of Chimera Bunny or whatnot, just do a podcast division or whatnot. I'll help with that. We'll have the Chimera Bunny hour or whatnot. You guys just ramble all you want about different topics.
These very strong opinions on the stupid love interests they included for Reagan. Specifically, I am so sure of it because the executives wanted him there. I hate him so much.
Oh, good Lord. I think we've hit upon all the points, right? I think.
Let's see.
Looking through the 5-page document.
Double check.
Hold on.
Just
dot our I's, cross our T's. The anticipation.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the day Polliwog episode 1 was supposed to come out, which was Box's birthday, by the way.
Oh. We
decided to redo it.
Happy birthday! We're starting over.
Another thing that happened that was exactly like that is Box did the character sheets, and then we were like, we should redo those. And
I drew a whole character expression sheet for Frog, and then literally the night of or the day after, we were like, okay, we're redesigning all the characters.
Oh, goodness.
This goes to show unexpected things will pop up. Yeah.
Jesus.
Let me try to find that.
So yeah, even through all this process, I don't really regret anything that we've done at all because we've learned something new from every little change that's happened. So
there you go. Oh goodness, this has been a interesting additional recording session, I will say. This is not the first time I've recorded multiple times with the same guest, usually for the same episode.
We did not bring up we are the Gus and Saul Goodman of indie animation.
So okay, no. We're gonna elaborate on this for a quick second. Go on.
Okay. So you know how Gus is very careful. He's very meticulous. He's very planning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Gus, but I'm also Jesse because I can Jesse. and off with Saul Goodman because she just kind of raw dogs everything, and like she's very good at what she does. We both are, but out of the two of us, she's definitely the Saul Goodman.
So you better call Box.
Yeah,
Better call Box. I wouldn't be do not be surprised if I make that the title of this bonus episode. Oh goodness. Oh Jesus. All right, I think unless there's anything else you guys want to add right here at the end, I think that is the end of this bonus episode. Because
I think that's everything. Oh, Lee's gonna.
Lee, do you have one last little thing?
No, it's fine. I was just gonna talk about the visual development process because but that's gonna be like a whole thing.
Next time.
We'll save that for the first episode of the Chimera Bunny podcast. How about that?
We probably should.
Maybe.
I could lead you guys. I'm dead serious. I can lead you guys in the right direction, or I can be the host if one of you guys want to edit it or whatnot. And I mean, even then, it's like bare minimum editing, but still.
Well, we would probably have you as the host because we're lazy. So. Smile.
Think of me more as like an MC. We're all the hosts, but I'm the one that leads everyone in the right direction.
Yeah, I need to be led because, oh my goodness, I want to talk about inside jobs so bad. Oh, we got another backer while we were talking.
While we were
no way!
Let's go!
Oh my god!
We just hit $1,000.
Hey, there
yes!
we go. And considering the fact that this is, I'm sure I'm telling you this, there's no way, especially because we were recording for about an additional hour right here. This is gonna be just straight up like a bonus episode or whatnot. So when this does come out right before the Kickstarter does end, if you haven't supported already, you can add more to that number that we just heard right there. You can make it higher, make it extra higher. Help these guys out. They're doing incredible stuff.
Sprout Darlings now live on Kickstarter. It's probably still live. Go check it out.
Absolutely.